So the question on the floor is, what type of car would I recommend for a person who's looking to get into a larger automobile? They're trading in a gasoline-engined late model Ford 3/4 ton truck. And the 3/4 ton truck in question gets about 12 miles per gallon and has a really huge gas tank and costs well over $100 to fill up. The person shall not be infringed, planning on traveling quite a bit, and has an affinity towards Cadillacs, and would prefer that the vehicle be older than 15 years, allowing it to be exempt from Massachusetts emissions testing. Is it at all doable, you know what I'm saying? And what are the factors? First things first, the gasoline that we're pumping into our cars nowadays is not the same gas that we were putting it in even 5 years ago. There is 10, sometimes pushing 11% ethanol by content, okay? And this is no shit. I test this stuff at work. We have drivability issues, and one of the first things I do these days is test for fuel and alcohol content. And what happens sometimes, the alcohol in certain fuel tanks, like a little mom and pop store or something, can sometimes collect, and I've seen as high as 15 to 20% being pumped out of the regular 87 octane, and that throws everything off. The 10% is bad enough. You take some of these late 90s cars. Now I'm a GM tech, so you know most of my understanding and focus towards those vehicles. But the Chevrolet Uplander had a real hard time with the E10, and man, you had customers where overnight they had a minivan that was getting it done for them, getting nothing to write home about, 18 to 19 miles per gallon. All of a sudden, man, that hooker was only getting 12, and it had nothing to do with the vehicle or its size or its design or the engineers. I mean, they just weren't made to run on 10% ethanol. The newer the vehicle, the more it is. And the people who have experience with running alcohol and in racing and stuff like that, alcohol burns slower, so there's more timing advance. You need to bump up compression, and that's why E85 engines. Now I'm talking about the ones that run on 85% ethanol. They don't work as well as a pure alcohol engine, and they get less power, less fuel economy, because you can't do like what you would for a pure alcohol burning engine, which is make ridiculous compression, ridiculous ignition advance, and then you can take advantage of the energy that's stored within alcohol. What it's doing in regular gasoline, it's a little boring, and I'm going to move off of it, is it's just cleaning up emissions. I want to say it's heating up combustion pressure, which in turn is making NOx and all this other stuff, but they got it all figured out. But now to answer the question, I know, Mike, you don't like your black boxes in your car, and you don't trust the injection and all the highfalutin stuff that's a little more difficult to work on. But I would have to say, there's nothing wrong with the black boxes so long as they don't break down. And in some cases, there's not a particular reason for them to, or the system is so simple that it's okay to make up for that. Now, if you want to talk about a 15-year-old Cadillac STS, I think you would be really fine in that car. Those things get awesome mileage for their size. Hell, I had one just the other day. I pulled it in and I was scrolling through the little driver information center, and that thing was claiming 27 miles a gallon, and I believe it. If you take it easy on that North Star, and I'm a big fan of that engine, other than the fact that it leaks oil like a mofo, and I can get into why it leaks oil if you want and what it would take to fix that, but it's not a bad little engine. The only things I've seen really go wrong on those are crank sensors and water pumps and air conditioning blower motors. Now, the air conditioning blower motor on the STS. Some of them you have to cut out the on the firewall where the blower motor goes through. You have to cut that back out so you can get the squirrel cage in there. But that's like something you'd have to do once every few years or so. And it's a little bit pricey, but if you're only doing it once every few years, and other than that, you're running the shit out of the car, then, what's the big deal? You're in a large, comfortable car that has ridiculous power and gets amazing gas mileage. And it's just like what you were saying with the old your old Quadrajet, where those primaries are really, really small, and you get that automatically with fuel injection. Those things can meter back, and they're pulsing, and they can meter back until they're just barely trickling out the fuel. Now, beyond that, the way you get fuel economy, it takes energy to move. We can all agree on that. And the more difficult it is to move something, the more energy it's going to take naturally. So aerodynamics are going to start being a factor when you're talking about interstate speed, 70 to 75 miles an hour. So while your 76, whatever the hell, 1976 V8 car, while it's okay going around town, if you were going 75 miles an hour all the way to the Midwest, it would really start to take its toll on economy, just because there's so much extra weight. Now, that's not to say that old cars have the copyright on being heavy. That's one of the big reasons why new cars have such amazing, like, every year you're like, oh my gosh, it's 2013. Can't a 2013 car get 30 miles a gallon? My Malibu was getting 30 miles a gallon 10 years ago. Well, your Malibu weighs 1,000 pounds more than it did 10 years ago, because there's all these side impact beams, there's all these airbags. Okay, it's a heavy ass car, and the pickup trucks are heavy ass pickup trucks. Anybody that brings it with a newer truck, check the little receipt next time you bring a load of garbage to the landfill. See how heavy your truck is. I had a 95 Mustang GT, and that sucker weighed, by the time I was done with it, it probably weighed about 3,300 pounds, and it was pretty minimal. My truck is up and over 5,000, and it's a half ton, so that's a lot of weight to be pulling around. It's amazing. So I like the STS, and some mechanics don't. Some mechanics don't care for the Cadillacs because they seem to think they're difficult to work on. But if you really think about it, I see these things all the time. They got a shit ton of mileage on them, and they're still going. Window motors are a pain. They can sometimes get drivability, but my experience with the North Star, man, when it's running like boop, 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 it's messing up. It's always the basics. If it's making a check engine light, it's really cut and dry. You scan it, and it has two crank sensors, which is kind of cool, and that's one of the secrets to why it's able to get good mileage. I don't know if you're still with me or not, but they're in two different positions, and the Cadillac was a bit ahead of its time in that it used to be we would have one single sensor, and each time the little reluctor came past it would be like, okay, hit. By having a second sensor, we increased the field of vision, and it really began to know where those pistons were in real time. It's impressive, and I don't mean to nerd out about it. It's something later model cars do too, and it's one of the secrets to how we can get 400 horsepower in a vehicle that gets upwards of 20-something miles to the gallon. I'm cool with the Caddy, especially if you can put up with the oil leaks, and if you just keep checking the oil, and if it really, really bothers you, your brother sounds pretty handy. I can let you know what it would take, in my opinion, to fix that up. The water pump is tough to do on that motor, and a couple other things are a little tough to work on again. But again, like I said, if you're able to go a couple of years before you need to go under that hood, you bite the bullet, you get in there, you fix your car, you keep it maintained, and it's not a big deal. And I like them a lot. I like them a lot. Okay, so I hope that helps. Hope that answers some questions. I don't know. I didn't get into emissions at all, but emissions, believe it or not, is one of those things that costs us fuel economy as well, because the energy that I was talking about that's in gasoline that could be used to propel your vehicle down the road, we're having to use quite a bit of that energy to clean up the crump that's in the tailpipe. So I just briefly touched on that, and if anybody's really interested in it, I can get into that. So hope that helps, and we'll see y'all later.